So, going online. There we go. Hello, everyone. So we are live now. Wonderful.
Good. Yeah, absolutely.
Just making sure that people can see us. Yeah, we already have 31 people in the room. Hello, everyone.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Or good night, everybody that is in. I know I talked to some people in Asia and they were like, it's very late.
Yes, well, whether it's good morning or whether it's good afternoon or whether it's good evening, welcome everybody.
Welcome. Yeah, we've been doing a few of these now, and the last few we've done at like 12 noon Central European time because we had more people from Europe and like a lot of Asia people from Asia watching, but we also had people from America waking up at 4 a.m. just to watch the lives, which was really cool, I thought.
You bet.
Yeah, look at that. We do have some people coming in. I know, because there's also ADEX is running its show basically online now. So they also do a bunch of panels, and they've been going on. So I wasn't sure if there will be anybody coming through to us. But yeah, we have. Wonderful. We have quite a lot of people. Lotte's here. Then we
hello,
have
Lotta.
Christo from Sodwana.
Christopher, how are you? Yeah, I got my coffee as well, so I'm my SSI mug with my coffee for sure. So yeah.
Always go reusable. No plastic straws. You know.
Absolutely. Reusable for sure. Absolutely, no question. Only way to go, right?
Look at that from Indonesia. People are still awake. Wow. Greece, UK. Yeah. So it's early morning for you here. It's actually already getting dark. We're going into winter here. It's getting cold. I actually ordered a fireplace yesterday. It's hopefully coming this week.
Well, it's 8:28 on Sunday morning here, so we're early here, but obviously already 8 hours later in Europe and 7 hours later in the UK, and could be as much as 16 hours ahead in the Pacific Rim. So I mean, we deal with all the time zones.
Yeah, I checked. It's 10:30 in the Philippines.
There you go.
10:30 in the Philippines and Indonesia. We're here at 4:30 in the afternoon. For us, it's nice. Central European time and South African time is the same at the moment. So
yeah, that's good.
Saturday afternoon. Nice, more than 100 people.
That's
Look at
wonderful.
that. We have Memo saying hi.
Hello, Memo.
We have people from Saudi Arabia, Egypt.
Abdul, I bet.
Look at that. No, Saudi Arabia. We have, wait, I lost it. There. Chris Edwards is in Saudi Arabia.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Egypt. Wonderful. So we're just going to wait 1 or 2 minutes more, and then I'm just going to play a beautiful video that Doug provided to us so generously. We're going to talk a little bit about the past of Scuba today, and also seeing the future, and yeah, how scuba diving has developed. So people are still coming in. Look at that. More Indonesia. Wow, people in Indonesia are still awake. Gilly T.
That's good. I bet that's John and his team as well. So that's good.
No. So, okay, wonderful. So let me just start off with the video. I'm just gonna quickly share the screen. That's the one. Okay. Make sure if the sound is okay.
Doug McNeese was 9 when his parents opened the dive shop in Memphis in 1961. He was 10 years old when he learned to dive. By the age of 13, Doug was working after school cutting dive bags for his family's other business, sports leather products. At 16, he was needed at the dive shop. He worked there throughout high school and college and was the store's top salesperson and instructor. In 1975, Doug bought the business from his parents and began evolving the dive shop into the success it is today. Always looking for new ways to grow, Doug decided to expand the business while at the same time earning his doctorate of professional dive education, the NASDS Director of Education rating. By 1988, Doug had 3 stores in Memphis, Little Rock, and Marietta. He had yet to build his dream store, the one that would memorialize his parents and their years of hard work transforming the scuba and travel industry in Memphis. Doug realized the only way to do that was to ensure the long-term success of his company was not dependent upon himself alone. He needed to make his business scalable. He needed a clear vision with processes and systems in place to impart a lifetime of knowledge and experience to employees. Over 4 years, Doug developed a retail-based training system with clearly defined roles and responsibilities aimed at empowering staff and helping them learn the business quickly. In 1993, Doug finally built his dream store. That same year, Doug purchased NASDS. While industry friends and family thought he'd lost his mind, after 25 years in dive retail, Doug saw a need to bring dive retail and diver training together. NASDS also needed a facelift, and Doug was ready for a new challenge. He moved the agency from California to Memphis and began a new adventure. He developed a new training program based on a modern approach to entry-level dive training called Dive Safe, effectively bringing NASDS into the 21st century. After 5 short years, Doug received a call from industry veteran Bob Clark. It was a call that was signaled both an end and a beginning. NASDS and SSI merged in January 1999. Doug went on to buy SSI with international business partners Robert Stoss and Guido Weitzig in 2008. 6 years later, SSI announced an industry-changing partnership with new owners Head Maris, designed to provide more opportunities to SSI consumers worldwide and to benefit both companies. Under Doug's leadership and with an amazing team of people, SSI has experienced unprecedented growth. Today, with even more resources, SSI offers 55 digital products in 41 languages to its more than 3,700 dive centers and resorts worldwide. Pretty impressive for a kid who started out in the family business to pay for college. After almost 50 years in the business of diving, Doug is still passionate about dive retailers, whom he calls the doorway to diving. Doug's 4 daughters, sons-in-law, and twin granddaughters are a constant reminder of why he helps open those doors, as he sees them love the underwater world as much as he does. Doug McNeese, for all you've done and continue to do to educate retailers in the best business practices and to bring new divers into the family, thank you. Congratulations on your Reaching Out award. Long may you continue to open doors for retailers and divers both.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you very much for this video. It's really wonderful and actually puts everything that I'm going to ask you today in a quick 3-minute format. Really great video.
Thank you very
for
much. I
that.
appreciate that.
And yeah, it definitely is right. You have definitely been leading the way in the scuba diving industry for quite a few years now. So starting with that, since when do you actually scuba dive? How many years has it been? And we've seen you got into it over your family. I wanted to extend my question here actually a little bit, is like, your family must have been one of the first to probably run scuba diving as a school or as a shop in the US, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. My dad was a consummate retailer. We owned a record store, a toy store, and a jewelry store. And he decided that if he was going to work 7 days a week, he wanted to do something fun. And we used to watch, for all of you young people on the call, I will just simply tell you, there was a program called Sea Hunt with Mike Nelson. You could probably get online and Google it and find some of those videos. But we watched this and he got excited about it and decided to close all those businesses and open a dive center in 1961. Next January, it will be 60 years old. And I'll just say that, yes, we were some of the first adopters of diving in the industry. And there are some other dive centers out there that are older than ours, but there are not many, that's for sure, and especially still in business today. I would simply say that I started to dive when I was 10 years old, and I was born in 1952. So I started the year after the store was open. And I grew up in the business. I mean, that's basically what happened to me, is I just grew up in it. I had no intentions of actually being in this business once I got out of high school and college. I actually thought I'd be doing something completely different, but I fell in love. It's that lure of the ocean that brings us all where we are today.
Yeah. I fully agree with that. My history is pretty much the same. Dad's dive center, grew up in it, never really thought I would end up in it, but now I'm here, and it's probably one of the best jobs you can think of, isn't it?
Absolutely, without question. I can't think of doing anything else for the rest of my life. I will always continue to dive as long as I possibly can. I will be in the water because that's what brings it all together. You know, it's that crystal clear, warm blue water with colorful reefs and colorful fish. And I just can't wait for the next experience to get in the water and try that. And it's easy to be passionate about something like this and make other people passionate about it, because it's just not that difficult. It's just something that we all fall in love with.
That is very true. And you've obviously touched very many people, because we have so many people here that are writing, "We love you, Doug." Doug, you're so great. All of those comments. You can actually see that in the comments if you rewatch the video later. So about your history, how does SSI actually fit into that history of yours? You've started so early. We've seen a little bit of it in the video now, but maybe you can expand on it.
SSI came much later. Our dive center started off as a YMCA dive center. That will not mean anything to anybody probably on the call, but YMCA came after the Navy divers, and YMCA was the Young Men's Christian Association, and they had a scuba program. However, it was not a very well marketed scuba program, and it certainly wasn't a nationwide program. And there was a guy by the name of John Gaffney that started a company called NASDS, National Association of Scuba Diving Schools. And quite frankly, we felt like that was a better educational program that we could actually use in our store, because at the end of the day, we don't want people just to learn to dive. We want people to become divers. And the only way they become divers is to make sure that the training is done in such a way that the physics and the physiology, in fact, teaches them the why and how the equipment plays an important role, and they own their equipment and go diving. I mean, that's at the end of the day, the end of it. However, I was an NASDS diver instructor, became a instructor trainer, and then a certifier, and then went on to become an international training director for NASDS. And then the gentleman that owned it ended up in a place where he needed to sell the company. In 1993, after I had put my whole training system in place, I needed something else to do. So I bought NASDS and moved it from California to Memphis. Well, ironically, the two agencies that were similar in their approach was SSI and NASDS, which means our philosophy is we only work with dive centers and resorts, and all instructors are channeled through those dive centers and resorts. So we were getting back some of our customers that had left NASDS and gone to SSI. They were starting to come back home because we had new, fresh educational materials that people thought were cool. So they started to come back home, if you will.
Yeah.
Then Bob Clark and I had a conversation, which is the CEO of SSI. And he said, hey, we're heading in the same direction. Why don't we put our two companies together? And the birth of SSI and NASDS being, if you will, back together happened in 1999. So that's how my history became about with SSI. And since that time, we've just been plugging along in the right direction. And our biggest goal was to take SSI digital. And so in 2011, 12, we started developing what you call the container that that digital product went into. And then a conversation happened with the Mari's head team, and the rest is history. Not only did we get acquired by Head, most people think we were acquired by Mari's. We were not. We were acquired by Head, the mothership. And from that point, we had a purse, if you will, to be able to do exactly what we wanted, and that was to take the company digital. And 2015, we went digital, and here we are.
Yes, we are. And we've done so much since then, haven't we? I mean, I've only been with SSI since a few years, so few years. It's been quite a
number of years.
Yeah, it's been. I'm just thinking back. I became SSI instructor 2010, 2011.
There you go.
So it's also been a while, but actively working with SSI, it's been now since the takeover. So I don't have so much experience from within the company from before, but what happened since then it was so much fun, and was so fascinating also to experience, like going digital as a scuba diving agency, trying to market it as like this new thing, not in neon pink wetsuits, even though those are coming back, but
sure,
not looking at those old pictures and everything with, because the diving industry, in my point of view, was always, as a young person, was always a bit stuck in the 80s.
Yes, I agree.
And that's something that really changed now, looking at the last few years with going digital, but also the overall like images you see, like the whole marketing of it is really come to this century.
To add on to your comment, Corinna, I'll just simply say that the beauty behind the digital system is, in 2015, when we launched this, we really thought 30% of the customers would want digital, and 70% would be stuck in the 80s and still want physical product, right? How wrong were we? Yeah. It was actually 70-30 the first year. And I will tell you that in 2019, for the world, everybody, we sold 800 physical manuals. You tell me, what do customers want? They all live right here on this device. And you know, the average customer looks at this silly device 125 times a day. So we need to be where the customer is, period.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm so glad at this point right now, we're in such a difficult situation. And the fact that we already have basically unknowingly prepared for this for years is just really great.
Without question. Had we not had this, had we not had the digital product and the delivery methods that we have today, we would have been dead in the water without question. So this kind of catapulted us into the future, if you will. And now we're ahead as opposed to behind, and people are trying to catch up with what we're doing, which is a good place to be.
I have the first questions from the audience coming in here. Ed is asking, what do you see as the steps going forward to continue the best service to future scuba divers?
Well, I'll have to say, Ed, my personal belief is exactly what's taking place. None of us wanted what's taking place in the 189 countries around the world. But at the end of the day, what it's making us all do is rethink the way we do training, and rethink the way we do everything in our life, whether it's buying groceries or whether it's doing anything over the internet. A lot of people are having to come out of their shell, if you will, and realize this has been going on for decades, but we just haven't used those resources. So what do I see? I see some real exciting things taking place. I see us creating continue to develop our digital product to make it more interactive, as well as using these webinars, if you will, whatever that vehicle you want to use, whether it's Zoom or Webinar Jam or any of the ones that are out there, in order to have a true interactive class with your students while sitting at home. And I think that's something that's going to be utilized a whole lot more going forward, so that when people come to the training center, they literally will be spending their time where they become a diver, which is in the water. If you listen to divers from around the world, you'll find out that a lot of people feel like they did not get enough time in the water before they went to open water. This is going to allow them to spend even more time in the water so that they're prepared. So for me, I'm super excited about what this has created, and more excited that SSI has not only from entry to swim all the way through to professional, we have every single program that anybody that is a water lover needs. So yeah. I see the future being very bright, quite frankly, about training. And I don't worry about that person being disconnected from my store. So let me take off one hat, being my SSI hat, and put on my retailer hat, because I still own 4 stores. So I'm not worried about that, because the customer still has to register with me and get that product from me. And so I'm connected to that customer from the beginning of the process to the end. So I'm super excited about it.
Okay, yes, I agree. We also have another question from Flo. Flo is asking, where's your point about the next step after this crisis? Medical, in application in divers and free divers. So what do you think after this will happen? There's a lot of articles out there coming slowly from scientists. What do you believe we should do, thinking about diving after the crisis, after the disease?
Just like what we're talking about with the webinars, this is going to change everything from registration to medicals to checking people's temperature to wearing masks and all of those disinfecting equipment. I mean, the guideline list is very long to what people are suggesting. There is conflicting information, Floyd, just so we're on the same page about what people think and what people should be doing. But for me, I truly do believe that we're going to see a standard, if you will, of how we're going to do training in the future. And so SSI has already released some of those things to our dive centers. And as we get more information, we're releasing more information to our dive centers. But what we don't want to do is be alarmist. Yes, this is a global pandemic. We all get that. But will there be a medication? Will there be a vaccine for this particular coronavirus? Probably. Will it happen overnight? No. Will things return to normal immediately? I don't think so. But what is normal today? and then what is normal going to be in a month from now or in 6 months from now. And so I can't really give you a hard, fast answer to your question. I can only say that we're all going to be cautious, and we're going to be optimistically cautious about how we re-enter training and in the water and open water and hopefully back to travel.
Yeah, and one thing about all those articles and things that are coming out, I think it's too early for us to really get like the exact information, because obviously this virus goes into the lungs. Lungs are one of the most important things for divers and free divers. So we really also need to wait a little bit for more specific scientific research and to know more. But definitely, if somebody had the virus and wants to come diving with you in a dive center, or if you have the virus and you want to go diving, you definitely have to have a new medical sign-off from a doctor, preferably a diving doctor, of course. And also, just to answer BICS and process questions really quickly, yes, SSI will come out with new guidelines and with new standards towards all of this. But again, we need to also have a bit more. We're already bringing out the first things on how to disinfect, and all of those is already being prepared. But we also need to wait for more medical research before we can finalize full-on standards and full-on guidelines, because like we said, a month ago, the world was a different place.
Yeah. Yeah, really, you're talking about more of a communicable disease type of a medical that's going to have to go along with these things. And, you know, obviously, if somebody's not sick, and we have a way to show that they're not sick, and obviously we don't even want anybody coming to our programs that are sick, not even with a head cold, because you know what kind of problems that already causes. So yes, these will all come, but I think as Corinna has eloquently said, it's just a bit early for us to give you the final details to what that's going to look like.
Then we have another question from Johan. That's just a quick one. Will there be online exams on all courses in the future? So we're actually working on that. Almost all our courses already have the online exams, and it will be an option on the future, just to answer that quickly.
Sure. Johan, to answer your question further, though, remember, our goal about bringing that person into the store is for you to see that person actually took the exam, and that would be for the key critical programs like open water diver. Once they've been certified and they're taking a specialty course, then obviously online exams do work. And then when you think about other programs like nitrox, if it's an EAN 32 or 40, we want to see them analyze the gas. So it all really depends on the actual program itself. But yes, certainly we're going to be able to provide online exams, because this is coming from the review questions anyway. So we're not tricking anybody, if you will.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about your history in diving. Where did diving actually bring you in the world, and what's your favorite destination? What's your favorite dive site or dive spot or general area, or
all of them? All of them are my favorite dive sites. But if I have one that's burned into my memory that will always be there, is Palau and a place called Blue Corner. I was there in 1984, and I think there were less than 400 people a year that were visiting the island. And I have to tell you, we went out in these, I don't know, wooden boats with twin 150 Mercuries on the back of it, and you're flying through all of these islands, and they take you to this place that literally on one side of the boat, if you fell off into the water, you would hit your head on the reef. And on the other side, it's, you know, I don't know, 6,000 meters deep. Who knows? I mean, it's just an infinity, if you will. And I dropped in the water, and I've never seen such large Gorgonian sea fans, moorsidles, saddleback butterflies, sea turtles, schooling fish like I've never seen in my entire life. But what I wasn't prepared for was the end of that dive. They call it Blue Corner because it makes a 90-degree corner at the end of the dive. And because it is connected to a bay There is always a current running there, and literally you can be in 30 meters of water and you start getting to that corner and you can feel the current pushing you back up the wall. And when you get to the end, at that time, they would simply say, hold on to a piece of coral. And there were schooling barracuda, there were bull sharks, there were, I mean, white tips, black tips, there was everything there, and you're holding on, and the current is so strong that if you turned your head, it would knock your mask off of your face. And you would have a shark that would get from you to maybe no more than a meter away, just swimming right in front of your face. And it was just the most electric thing I've ever done in my entire life. And then you're supposed to let go at the end of the dive. And it was almost like a free fall, except you weren't going down, you were going up in order to do your safety stop as you just simply drifted right back into the bay. It's a place that I've told my family that when I die, I want to be cremated, and I want you to get on an airplane and take me to Blue Corner and sprinkle my ashes there. It made such an amazing impact on me that I have never forgotten that dive. But I've got so many of those dives I could tell you about, whether it's in truck or whether it's in the Philippines or whether it's in the Galapagos or in Cocos or you name it, everywhere you want to think about. Raja Ampat, I mean, everywhere. So yeah, I mean, diving is still my passion and will always be.
Yeah, that's actually my next question. Do you still enjoy to dive after all these many years?
I absolutely do. I'm actually scheduled to go to the Cocos August the 8th to the 18th on the Okeanos 2. And I try my best to dive at least once, if not twice a year, somewhere that keeps me reminded of what I'm in the sport for. I absolutely do take my family, even though that video you saw is now old in the fact of only 2017. I have the 4 daughters, but I also have 6 granddaughters now. We've added 3 granddaughters since that all took place. Actually, 4 granddaughters, sorry. And so, I try to get my family to go diving, but they got to stop having babies so we can all be together, you know, on overboard dive boats and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's still a major part of my life. My wife says if I buy another total diving system, she's going to divorce me because I've got too much equipment in my garage, but it's what I like to do. So here I am.
That's the thing, right? You just can't diving is something that you cannot really get rid of. It's not something that you can just forget about.
No, absolutely.
In my opinion, I studied different things, tried to work in different industries, but it's not something that you can just let go of. It's somewhere in your head, and it's so good that it just like brings you back every time.
Absolutely. No question about it. And it's something that, it's our fiduciary responsibility for everybody on this phone. It's our fiduciary responsibility as divers to protect what we love. And I think that's the biggest message that could be given about any diving that we all go do is that we have to protect what we love. And it's going to be there when this is all over. And I know everybody's probably in the same place I am. I can't wait to get my gills wet again. I need to get back in the water.
You can see on social media all the divers out there craving it so much they wear their total dive gear in the shower, in the bathtub, running through the garden, getting sprayed with hoses.
I love it, by the way. I think that's really creative, Yeah, so it's cool.
Me too. It really brings a bit of joy into the quarantine life, doesn't it?
That's for sure.
So what do you think are the main differences between the diving industry now and the diving industry, let's say 30 years ago?
Oh, wow. Probably have to go back even further than 30 years. But, I'd have to say that in the beginning, diving really started from the Navy divers that got out of the Navy, and they were looking for something that they could do. And so they started teaching diving as a pastime, if you will. And you literally had to be a Superman to be a diver. I mean, to the point of putting on a scuba cylinder and 12 kilos of weight, and and being able to do push-ups on the beach and all that kind of good stuff. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, you had to swim so far, and you had to be able to do all kinds of crazy exercises. And the reason was because obviously the equipment was not adequate, and you had to be able to be reliant on yourself in the case of an emergency. That ditching your equipment would be the first option, and then making a free ascent to the surface. So what's changed? Well, obviously, as diving has evolved from the 60s to the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s of where we are now, it's all equipment. And as the equipment evolved, training evolved to go along with it. There was no longer the need for some of these exercises that we were doing, simply because the fact is, the equipment would do the job for us. We were teaching people how to dive with their brute strength. Well, now we need to teach people how to dive with the equipment and let the equipment do the job and not you. I mean, fins were inefficient in the day, little bitty shoe fins that we wore, and even the little Mae West vests when they first came out with a CO2 cartridge. I mean, a CO2 cartridge was 4 to 5 times more compressible than compressed air. So if you popped it at depth, it'd be like a little bitty bubble in the back of your neck, but nobody thought of it that way. And so how did things change? Well, back in the 70s, a lot of these retailers that were thinking about the evolution of equipment started playing with stuff in swimming pools. That's what they did. If you don't know this, the Scuba Pro stabilizing jacket was built in a swimming pool in California. They literally took the inner tubes from a small tractor, front wheel tire, if you will, and they put them up on their arms to the shoulder. And then they took a standardized back plate, backpack we called it back in those days, and another inner tube. They took a radiator hose and they cut a hole in it, and they literally started piecing all these things together to create the first stabilizing jacket for the industry. Now, you're talking about something that was revolutionary. This was the first revolutionary product that was ever made, simply because the fact is, for the first time ever, we had a BC that would literally float you up in the water like you should be. I could sit and talk to anybody with that BC on. It didn't matter because my head was out of the water. Before that, you were literally just sinking down in the water. So you were dependent on always moving as opposed to letting the equipment do the work. So this is part of the evolution. Coming up with high volume balanced first stage air delivery systems with downstream fail-safe second stages that would not fail. You became trustworthy of the equipment. Having the first computers to come out. I can remember wearing an Orca Edge back in the 80s, that literally would show the pixels of what was taking place inside your body as the nitrogen was loading, and you literally could see it happening on the computer screen. But you also didn't need weight on that side of your body because the Orca Edge itself, So yeah, the evolution of the equipment has really made the difference and allowed us to truly focus on the skills that matter most, which are the 8 skills that we use every single time that we go diving, and make them so efficient that they are second nature when people are in the water. If we do that, people are always going to have a fantastic time. So equipment evolution created training evolution, and here we are today, and it just keeps getting better and better and better.
True. There is so much more still to come. I see you as people think it's like stopped here now because we have everything we need, but that's what you thought before all of these things that we have now came out.
Absolutely.
So now we see things like the Horizon coming out, which I'm plugging quickly on Tech Talk Tuesday, this Tuesday. Kat and Mark Crane will actually talk about the Horizon. But yeah, the Horizon is this whole new thing, which people are thinking like, you don't need that. But it's like when the iPhone first came out, right? Or when the first smartphones came out, it's like most people are like, who needs something like that? But now it's like the thing. After it developed, it will obviously still change and develop, but it's a whole new direction of diving that diving can go to. And I think there's still so much more to come.
Oh, and in the horizon for recreational diving, oh my gosh, it is one complete unit. I mean, it does everything for you. You literally can get in this unit and you don't even have to fly anymore. You just put it on autopilot and go. And I think that's what we're talking about is, where is the industry and where is the industry going? I don't think there's a limit to what the industry can do. I think that there's going to be so many more things to come. I mean, when you start seeing full face mask, what the evolution of the full face mask going to look like as we go, yeah. There's so many things that are going to take place. I also look at the diversification of diving. I mean, when you look at demographics, you look at the ease of people getting involved in our sport. But now today, look at freediving. Oh my goodness. It's just an unbelievable part of what we do now, because you are challenging the human body to be able to do those things that you didn't think the body could do. And to see people of every walk of life get involved in that is just, it blows me away. So I just keep seeing the evolution of every facet of what we do, whether it's recreational, whether it's free diving, whether it's technical diving, whatever it is that the person wants to do, it's going to continue to evolve.
Yeah, and freediving especially, I mean, freediving speaks very much to me as a person, but also to my generation, I know. And for me, for example, I've been a scuba diver all my life. I've been a pro all my life. So it's really tough for me to go in the water for a fun dive and not turn around and look over my shoulder like every now and again, not like switch the pro in myself off. But for example, I use freediving as like relaxation, as something where I can push myself. So I really enjoy freediving as my hobby and scuba diving as my work in that sense.
You bet. I feel the same way. It is without question. The first static breath hold I did was 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And I thought, there's no way I could have done that, but I did. It just all depends on who's training you how to do that. And I know Mimo's on the call, and I don't want to blow his skirt up here, and give him the big head, but I was also involved in a program in Brazil watching this guy do this. And I'm telling you, it's like you could teach anybody to be a free diver by just the calmness of how this was actually presented, and then watch people in this static breath hold and you go, wow. And I mean, it did not matter what the size of the person was, what the gender of the person was. It just didn't matter. They all did well. So it's fascinating. That's for sure. So that's what I mean about diving and the evolution of diving. It's all facets, not one.
And there is something for everybody. Like, okay, there's those people that are a bit more like, I don't want to say it, but like myself, I'm like leaning towards the hippie-ish vibe. So I'm vegan and I like to do yoga and I like to do those. And freediving is great for those, but freediving is great for everybody. But then you also have tech diving, where tech diving allows you to play around with all these pieces of equipment and like lets you get like technical in your mind and things like that, which freediving in a way does also, but there's something for everybody, which just makes this the perfect sport in a way.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say, is that this is literally the perfect sport for anybody that loves the water.
That pretty much also answers my question. My next question is, do you see a future in recreational scuba diving though?
I see the future as being very bright. I don't think that we're ever going to get away from people's free time. People are always going to want something that they can do. And I don't think you're ever going to stop people from traveling and vacationing. Why do I say that? Because all of us look forward to and save our money so that we can actually go somewhere and spend some time isolated in a place that's not our normal life. And so I see diving as growing. I see maybe some further consolidation in the sport as we go forward. There's been consolidation. I believe there will be more consolidation. I also see that there will be more business-minded individuals getting into the sport and creating some of these amazing facilities that we see. Stores with indoor pools, or these specialized facilities with these deep pools. Even see the aquarium diving. I mean, I see diving as having a very, very bright future, because I don't think people will give up the one thing they absolutely love, and that's traveling. And it is still today the last frontier, to be able to enter the water and be able to see the incredible amount of beauty and the majesty of it all is something that we can never get away from. Do I believe there are some places where we need to relax the diving in some of those reefs that everybody wants to travel to every single day? Well, certainly, but that's the normal with everything that we do. But if we keep it fresh and we keep it exciting, I don't ever see this going away.
I agree. I fully agree. I have a nice question from Donna here. Doug, do you have any numbers on how many women are involved in scuba diving? What do you think about?
I am so glad, Donna, you brought this up. The one thing that has really changed in our industry is that we have learned to acquire women with the evolution of equipment and not being nonsensical, if you will, in training. Being a guy, and this is the irony behind me and my life. I grew up with 5 sisters, and I'm the baby. I now have a wife and 4 daughters, okay? And now I have 6 granddaughters. So obviously, women have been a big part of my life. And that was one of the things that I thought was so important, was acquiring more women into our sport. Not only in the fact of learning to dive, but also becoming instructors and staff people, because women are more organized than guys. Sorry, guys, but they are.
I agree.
They see dirt that guys will never see, and they are more relaxing, if you will, in a situation where people are having some difficulty going through training. But as a percentage, I have not looked as of late, but it has grown to somewhere above 33% of our total in certifications around the world. Now, Donna, I will also say that in some locations, that number is low, and in other locations, it's growing. Here in the United States, that number is growing tremendously and continues to grow as more and more women are in the professional sector and getting out and actually exploring to do more things that they feel like is apropos, if you will.
There's an observation that I had regarding this over the last 7 years, traveling around the world, looking at a lot of dive centers. If there is a woman on the management staff or like a woman involved, the dive center is just generally a bit more put together. That's not trying to offend anybody, or it's just something that you can see. And the more females getting involved, also the healthier the industry becomes in general. I'm not saying that females should take over. I'm just saying to get to like a healthy neutral, and I think everybody should get involved.
Without question. And by the way, the reality is that having all genders and all personalities is super important for us to be able to acquire any and everybody that wants to become a diver. Sometimes we alienate people, and we don't need to alienate anybody from our sport. And it all has to do with us opening our mind and realizing that it's every gender, it's every personality that's going to bring more people into our sport. You know, what's ironic is, for me, is that if we look at the world at large and we look at the number of people that are learning to dive on an annual basis, the percentage is very, very low. Yet, when you listen to what people would like to do, there's a ton of people that would like to learn to dive. We just have to be the vehicle to allow them to do that. Yeah,
I agree. And yeah, everybody can get involved, and diving has always been like the stigma that it's white men, that it's their thing. And
Yeah,
I don't think so. I mean, me as a young girl getting into the industry, I always felt a little bit like that. But now the industry has been changing. You have all races, skin colors, genders, everybody is just coming
absolutely.
in. Yeah, obviously, there's still smaller numbers in some, but there's so much more potential. And that is the beautiful thing about it, that there's still so much potential to grow.
For sure.
How do you think a training agency or training agencies in general can help to build the future of scuba diving or the diving industry in general?
Well, obviously, traditional for training agencies has always been we are the vehicle. And I will simply tell you that the beginning of every sale in a dive center is going to be education. I mean, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. And the secondary sale is from education as well. How can training agencies do a better job? Make sure that we are giving the customer that we want to acquire the tools that they feel they need in order for them to enter the sport, to make it as convenient as possible for anybody and everybody to get involved. And that includes not only women, but that also includes families. Sometimes, again, we isolate families, and what we need to have is that facet of our business to where people feel welcome when they walk into the store. We also need to have that power, and this is not something that the training agency can do unless that training agency is connected to the dive center and or resort. We need to have that power of wow when people walk through the door, that people are engaged when they walk into a facility. And then they need to have a training agency that is as modern as their store is, so that people feel welcome. You used an analogy of the Apple iPhone when it came out and people running away from it. Well, guess what? Today, if you walk into an Apple store, what do you see? Well, it's the same thing that we have to do. We just need to continue to connect the dots between training and the training center in order for all of those things to come together fluidly. Now, what will SSI do? SSI will continue to evolve our digital platform and make it more interactive, and most importantly, make it more fun. Certainly, it is a serious sport. Certainly, you can get hurt in diving if you don't know what you're doing. But at the end of the day, let's face it, if you're trained properly, the chances of you getting hurt are slim to none. So it all has to do with what we do as an agency to make that learning process even better. And that's something we're working on, is like, for example, Digital 2.0. So these are things that we're continually looking at for the future of how we're going to continue to engage every single facet of the training platform that we have.
I agree. There's a few more questions from the audience coming, just to the audience in general. We have a lot of discussion going on in our chat. I see here about standards and things. Whoever we don't answer questions now, we're going to come back into the comments to you. So we're going to get back to you and answer questions that are still open in case we missed something. But Johan has a question. Do you see an increase in recreational rebreathers?
I absolutely do. And we're already seeing an increase. The problem is whether or not we can deliver the number of people that would love to have a rebreather. It's a supply and demand type of a situation. That we can actually only deliver so many pieces until we get into a higher production, if you will. And so, yes, I absolutely see rebreathers as becoming a bigger thing. Where do I see it? Not necessarily in CCR. I see it more in SCR. And the reason I think SCR is because SCR works well in all resort markets. For the example would be is that the Horizon only needs nitrox. You don't need any pure O2 as your back gas. And so at the end of the day, having a system that only needs nitrox makes it convenient for any resort that they want to go to. It's always been about logistics before. And then as far as the scrubber is concerned, that's easy for the resorts to pick up and or for the person to bring with them. So, I see this evolving into more and more people getting involved. And guess what? The dive boats may limit the amount of time a person can spend underwater. So the example could be that you take your rebreather out and you use the same cylinder of gas for both dives that you're on for the day. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to switch out every time you go in the water, simply because of the way that the system is set up. So for me, it's not about I want to go in the water and stay for 4 hours, because I don't want to turn into a prune either. But at the end of the day, understand that this is what's going to evolve over time. And it's also got to evolve with the resorts. Like Biggs, it's on the call from the Philippines. It's got to evolve with the resorts as well, because they've got other passengers on the boat that are using open circuit systems. So we got to be thoughtful of those people as well.
Agree. Then I have another question from Gary and Ellis. Do you think we should develop the Scuba Ranger program further? These are the future of our industry. What do you think about Scuba Rangers? Because I know we have some good,
well, obviously, Gary and Ellis, I started at 10 years old, and so I'm a big believer in the children. Children are our future divers. That's the reason we developed swim, is because it's just an absolute easy step from swim right into Scuba Rangers, and Scuba Rangers right into open water diver. When we were as an industry, if you will, called junior diver from 12 to 15 years old, and we moved that age down to 10 years old, I was super excited, because I've got young grandkids, and obviously granddaddy wants to put them in the water as quickly as I possibly can. Is Scuba Rangers going to be redeveloped? The answer is yes, and it will be in a digital platform. Probably it would have already been closer to being that digital platform had we not had the slowdown that we've had. But you will see Scuba Rangers evolve. We may do a quote unquote name change to the program, simply because of what Corinna said earlier. We want to engage the generation, if you will, of kids today. And Scuba Ranger may not be the right term to engage those kids. It may be too playful or too cartoonish, if you will, in their brain. And so what we want to do is look at that as well. So you may see a name change, but will the program be the program that you're talking about? Absolutely. So be looking for that, Gary and Ellis. It's coming.
Yeah, and we are also actually, it's a really cool program, and what we are also trying with redeveloping it is extended to our different ranges, just like we do with all the different ranges we have now, free diving, EXA. Obviously, we can't do limited trimix for scuba rangers, but we are trying to develop it into different ranges. We've already started with mermaid, so that's definitely something, so the kids can actually explore all of it and then figure out what they like best, or if they want to develop in all of it.
Absolutely.
And one thing with the ranges, also me, also being a kid that started very, very early scuba diving, I think when you start, the earlier you start, the more like the sport like burns into your brain, if I can say it like that, the more you get stuck on it, because it's something you take on so early. It's something you will continue wanting to do. And that's why I think
agree with you more.
As
a matter of fact, the quicker we get them in the water, I find that kids are really good in the water. And so the quicker we get them in the water, the more they're going to want to be, this is going to be a part of their life. And as they grow up, they're going to bring in other friends. And as they grow up and get married, they're going to bring in their children. I mean, it's just going to be a generational thing.
Exactly, and it becomes that, and that's why it's so important to get them. I mean, I'm also the swim teacher in me, the swim teacher instructor in me speaking is get them in the water as soon as you can. The earlier you get them in, the more they will enjoy water, and the easier it will be for you to like keep this fun, entertaining sport for your whole family.
If we don't do the job of keeping everybody involved from an early age, we don't have a future business. So obviously this is super important to the future business. So Scuba Rangers, whatever that name is, will absolutely be part of our future.
I have quite a few from Christo here, from Sodwana. He thinks that the ecology courses are the best thing since bubblegum. And he would love to get some more. There's definitely a big market for more. What do you think, more ecology?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Christoph, I'll just simply tell you that when we started thinking about all the dry courses that could be done at home, obviously the ecology courses were the first thing that came up. And I will tell you that, you know, we're seeing dive centers that are engaging people that are not even divers that are taking some of these programs. And that is also engaging them in wanting to become a diver. So they're offering this to the general public for them to be able to just to learn about what's going on. I'll give you an example of one dive center in California. He simply invited everybody in the community to come in and do the shark ecology program. I think they had some 127 people show up for the program, and it was a free night. Literally, just come and learn about sharks. And then at the end of the night, he simply asked everybody in the room, if you would like to become a shark ecologist and get the certification card, it costs you X dollars, whatever that X dollars was. And he got almost 70% of the people in the room to sign up for the course that night. So all I'll say is that, yes, we absolutely agree with you, because we're educating people. And you know what's funny is that somebody just asked me about this on a call 2 days ago. And I'll just say that the more you educate people about the sea life and the environment that we actually do need to protect, what we love, the more you educate them, the more they realize how fragile the coral reef is, and that it is a living creature, and it grows from those living organisms inside the reef. And the more you educate them about turtles and the evolution of what happens during the whole turtle process of new babies and everything else that goes through, that they go through, you really do have a sense of fulfillment. Sharks, I don't know about everybody on the call, but for me, that's my favorite animal of all. And the only one I haven't dove with out in the open is a great white. Every other shark I've been in the water with, and have to tell you that it's the most incredible thing for me. I couldn't wait to take my children when they turned 12 years old to the Bahamas just so that they could shark dive, you know? So all of my kids love sharks as well. We have a fear of certain things until we know that we can replace those fears and fantasies with correct information. And this is absolutely, no question, Christoph, the programs to do that with. And seeing the manta ray ecology program, I was blown away. Absolutely pumped up and excited, you know? Being in Socorro with all the, what I call the flying nuns over your head, you know, I mean, it's magical. That's all I'll say.
And I personally, I mean, not sound crazy, but I thought I was surprised with how much information is packed into these courses. I personally do a lot of research and love to watch documentaries on all kinds of marine creatures and read a lot on them, but I still learned so much in these manuals that we got there. I was really so, well, it might sound weird, but I was really positively surprised. I imagined it to be good, but I didn't imagine them to be that good.
Great. That's awesome.
Okay, I have another question is, do you see any benefits in the current situation? Like, is there anything, I know you're a glass half full kind of guy. Do you see anything good in this right now?
What I see is that it's made everybody step back and re-examine life. I mean, really has. What's going to be important to them going forward in the future. Whether it's family or whether it's truly spending the time that they should be spending on the things that they really want to do in their life. So do I see benefit? I absolutely do. Is it something that I feel like is gonna immediately go away and we're gonna have a V-shaped economy with a lot of penned up demand? I believe all of those things are going to be part and parcel to what's going to take place. But in my humble opinion, it's going to make a lot of people realize I need to live life to the fullest. And I need to enjoy the things that are most important to me. And all I can say is that if you talk to anybody about the ocean, their eyes light up and they all want to be a part of that, whether it's just standing in the water and letting the waves crash over their legs or whether it's being a part of being underwater. They all want to be a part of that. So for me, I see some real upside to this when this is all over, because people will be rethinking their lives and not just going to work every day and working hard, but really taking the time to do the things that they want to do in their life.
I fully agree. What do you think about the marine life coming out of this? Because I mean, there's much less traffic to them, and all of us have seen these articles in Trieste of the dolphins jumping in the harbor, and the water in the channels in Venice getting cleared and things like that. What do you think the benefit for marine life will be?
Well, I can tell you that living in Colorado, animals are showing up in places that they've never shown up because they have no human pressure whatsoever. I believe that the reefs will be exactly the same way. I believe it'll be like coming back home to a new condominium full of a bunch of fish is what I think it'll be like. And the only thing that drives them away is the continuous activity of being on the reef, and those bigger pelagics and some of the other fish, they move out into places where they don't see those people. They're there. We all know they're there. It's just that we don't get to see them. So I think there will be a return of a lot of fish on those reefs because there's been no pressure on those reefs whatsoever. So for me, it'll be like jumping back in time and falling into the water and seeing schools of fish that maybe you haven't seen in some time. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm quite sure that at least a little bit of recovery is coming in. Also, because I've spoken to some friends all across the world, and they say they're sitting at the beach, they're hating it because they can't go in the water, but
Sure.
they've seen big animals, whales coming past that they wouldn't have seen like in years, which is really great.
For me, it's all about the temperament of what's going to take place, and the speed at which we actually get back in the water. And that's all going to happen with time.
Another question I have about the past and future of diving, how has the market in the US changed in the last many years, in the last 30 to 50 years? How has the market developed there, and how from your experience also, do you feel the market in the US is different to other markets? Because sometimes it kind of feels like it, but that's from my point of view, but I don't know.
Well, over the last 5 years, being the president of international business development for the company, I have traveled around the world. I don't care whether it's Korea, whether it's South Africa, or whether it's Brazil, or whether it's Spain, or whether it's Italy, wherever it may be. What I find is dive centers are pretty much the same wherever you go. There are dive centers that are treated like a business, and there are dive centers that are hobbyist. And I think that's just the nature of the beast, if you will. We get into it because we love it. And then we find out that once we get into it, there's also a business that we have to run, and we have to make sure that we can take care of. What do I see that's different in the United States? I believe that there's been a consolidation of dive stores in the United States simply because of the evolution of time. There was a time when there was a dive store on every corner. No longer is it that way. We probably are down to 50% of what we started with, back in the late 80s and 90s. And that's a good thing, because what was happening was that there was too much diversity, if you will, and too much dilution, if you will, in the marketplace. And there wasn't enough business to go around for everybody that was there. So now you're seeing more and more business people entering our sport. And they're building incredible facilities with indoor pools, and they're really focused on running a true business. Will that ever change that we don't have the smaller dive centers that are going to be in a specific market? No, it'll always be that way, because that is what diving is about. People absolutely love the sport, and so they want to get involved so that they can be a part of offering that to other people, and they have to learn on the way. One of the things that SSI has done is we created a program called Scuba University, where we could actually teach those dive centers how to run a successful business. And for that reason, we've been able to sustain over the years. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't see the industry as here in the United States being any different. And I don't see that the number of stores is growing like it did back in the 80s and 90s. But we're at a place where we are comfortable with the number of stores, and the new stores that are being added are in fact true business people doing a great job.
There's also something I've seen that the people that are entering now are entering in a semi-saturated market, but they enter with a bit more business minded and with a bit more business whiz very often.
Right.
Because if you don't have that right now, it's very difficult to survive as a new dive center, I believe.
Absolutely, no question about it. If you don't have that business-minded model, if you will, when you walk in, it's going to be difficult for you to compete.
Yeah, and in the end, in my opinion, a dive center is never going to be like a get rich fast kind of thing.
No.
It's something that you do out of passion. You can make money with it. You can make good money with it. You can survive nicely with it, but it's not going to make you, well, there's very few people in the world that got rich through scuba diving, but well, rich in the pocket.
Exactly.
I would say we're all rich in the mind.
I've been rich in my heart my whole life. I'm sure I could have done something that would have been paid me a lot more money with the education I have. But at the end of the day, I love what I do. And you'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do and you get up every morning.
Correct. I have another question of Phil here. Do you think there can be anything more done about education on pollution and plastic awareness?
Yes, I do. And, one of the reasons that we did the whole ecology circuit, if you will, was simply to make people more aware. Blue Ocean that we launched back in 2018. I will just simply tell you our whole goal there was to create a free program, free to anybody that's out there, for you to be able to invite the public into the training center and teach them all these different chapters, if you will, of the Blue Oceans program. And plastics obviously is one of those chapters in our materials. We will continue to evolve this program to where it will end up with 6 chapters so that we're continuing to support exactly what you're talking about. So for me, yes, we all have to do a better job of educating people and making them realize no matter how small it is, we all play a role. The example was when you talk about a straw, and the fact that we've gotten people to pretty much outlaw straws here in Colorado. You have to ask for a straw. You don't get a straw every time anymore. And most of those straws now are paper straws. And so we have to educate people, but we all have to do our part. And if you're not willing to do your part, then we can't change outcome. So that means that we also have to be responsible people, that when we see other people doing things they should not be doing, then we just need to be kind, but we need to mention it to them that we could all do a better job. Are you going to change the entire world overnight? No. But have we done an amazing job, even as our tiny little industry? I have to say the answer is yes, and we will continue to do more.
I fully agree. And the main thing here that we need to look out for is education, education, education.
That's
Educate
correct.
the younger generation. It's really hard to re-educate an older generation to completely change their lifestyle. But educate the younger generation and change your own lifestyle. That for me is one of the most important things. For me, there's nothing more infuriating like somebody talking about how bad plastic is while they sip out of a Starbucks cup with a straw and like that is. So you have to change yourself first and be a role model. Like in all things, like everything we do, really, we have to be a role model. So
Absolutely.
I've changed my lifestyle. I go to the supermarket with my own produce bags. I don't buy produce in plastic anymore as long as I can. I use shampoo bars and conditioner bars and soap bars because it's a super easy change
Absolutely.
that changes nothing in my routine, but takes away so much plastic. It's the little things. It's the little things that make a difference.
Absolutely. And if everybody does a little thing, then it becomes a big thing around the world. So it's all about training inside first about how you want to change your life in order to change the outcome for the world.
Ed is asking, do you see the manufacturing companies cutting back on plastic? And I say yes. I don't know how much you know, but
Yeah.
the manufacturers, I know Mars is doing a lot. Fourth Element is probably the leader in all of this, but yeah, maybe you know a bit more.
The answer is yes, Ed. I will just simply tell you that we started an initiative with Mares, and I know that all the other major manufacturers, being Scuba Pro and Aqualung, are doing the same, where we are absolutely not using plastic. We're using biodegradable bags and cardboard headers for things that we actually have to have a header for to hang in the store, because you can't just have an open product. We need to have some way to contain the product. But yes, I do believe that all the manufacturers are becoming mindful of what they need to do. And they're also demanding, where this equipment is coming from, that they are using recyclable products, if you will, or packing, if you will, in order for those to be shipped to them. And so it's changing rapidly. I've been really, really pleasantly surprised to see what's happened. And I keep up with it because of my own dive stores. Now, I don't work in my dive stores, and I haven't for the last, what's this year? So this is 27 years that I've not worked in my own dive stores. But I do keep up with them, and I know what's going on. And so I actually get to physically see that they're not using these plastics anymore.
And that is one thing that's very beautiful about our industry. They can be very harsh, if I can say it like that. If somebody does something like as bad as plastic wrong as a dive center, if they don't recycle, if they don't follow the guidelines of doing cleanups and all of these things, people will actually choose not to go with them. People that really care about them. The divers care about the ocean. Divers care. So if you don't follow the rules, divers will not come to you. That's why
sure.
The industry has to change.
That's for sure.
Let's just hope other industries follow.
Good.
Okay, Brett needs a replacement card. Brett, please send the information you wrote here to info@diversci.com. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I think we got most of the questions. Like I said, there might be some questions. We're just going to go back into the comments after we're done here. So if there's no more questions, do you have any closing words for us, Doug?
I do. I'll just simply say to everybody, thank you so very much for your time. Thank you for having a passion to want to be a part of this, and maybe even you've picked up a few things from this conversation that you can actually do something with. And please go out and spread the word yourselves, because this is all going to pass. We're all in this together. We just need to stay safe and healthy till we get to the other side. I do appreciate everybody being with us. Corinna, thank you so very much for you and hosting this and all that you do for SSI.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank you for coming and taking the time out of your Sunday morning. I know it's Sunday. I mean, it's not.
Okay, just another day.
Christo just put it in nice words. We are SSI.
Exactly.
So remember the hashtag.
We are SSI without question, Christoph. And I just simply say to all of you, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you somewhere in the world, I promise.
Very soon. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.